Tamas is going to talk about governance, which is an interesting thing in an organization of 340,000 employees. And I hear they give each one access to the WordPress admin. So I can't wait to learn more about governance in that.
That was the old governance, yes.
Oh.
So yeah, governance, actually, to be fair, it sounds like an awfully boring word. But to be honest with you, governance is actually about doing things the right way. And so the actual title is sort of the 6 years journey with VIP, with VP VIP. But the reality is, I think Brian worked on the original site in 2020 something, 20 years ago. So you could call it 21 years. So if Brian wants to come up and discuss the first 17 years, you can do. No, not today. Fair enough. But basically, so the way it started was that about 6-7 years ago, we decided that the TMS that we were on was no longer fit for purpose, just because it took too much development activity and we just didn't have enough support for it. And then we did an audit of all the websites that Capgemini owned. And so just so you know, Capgemini is a global company. We cover 40 countries. And as you can imagine, 40 countries, X number of languages. We keep buying companies in different countries, which means that we always have, growing from 300,000 to 340,000 within a couple of months. So we have this massive need for localized content and localized campaigns and localized marketing. So I work in the marketing team, but I'm actually more technical. So I look after the Capgemini web estate. And also the architecture, the systems, and the application itself as well. And so, yeah, and we found out that we actually had over 100 websites across the globe. And most of the websites, no one knew who owned them. We didn't really know what platform they were running on, why they were built, if they were still needed. It was like Paris Air Show 2014, that kind of thing. Which means that, and all of a sudden we thought, okay, there needs to be a way to kind of pull these things together, to have a centralized method, a centralized way to give a platform to marketeers to have their campaigns. But we had to be careful because marketeers want to push the boundaries. So we always knew that we can't just give them a lockdown system that is very restrictive. It meets all the criteria, but then they can't do anything, because what will happen then is they will just go outside the system and will then use a local agency in Arkansas or something like that. And that's where VIP came into the picture, because they offered a solution that was actually out of because I thought WordPress is kind of not really an enterprise product. Even I was thinking, how does that work? But the reality is that what they did was actually genius, really, because they actually created a platform that is secure. It works with GDPR. It's actually very flexible, but it gives that governance bit that allows. It allows the business to create the content they need to create, but in a manner that actually produces, it's on brand, it's secure, and it's measurable, and we can actually it's centrally controlled, and that's where it came from. So we had a number of things. The very first was managing risk, and that's the most basic pillar of the VIP platform. Essentially, it removes our need to make sure that the code is secure, because yes, there is already checking of code. There is also help on board. The platform itself already, covers those bases. That means that we can move on to the next stage, which is about content. How do we create content that is valuable for the business itself? And for us, actually, it's interesting because for us, it's not about page views really, but it's about targeted B2B marketing content. Even though, ironically, the majority of the website is about careers. 90% of the traffic is actually careers traffic, but actually the most valuable content is our marketing and communications, and our ability to create campaigns and talk about our services and our offers in a meaningful way. So we built the first iteration of the website, and then we started to rebuild it. And one of the interesting things was which is less about governance, or just slightly, was that the marketing team said, actually, so we have Capgemini.com, but we want to build a new website. We have 40 countries, so it's quite a lot of work. And so they said, well, we don't want to change the domain. Let's just keep it the same, but make it behind the scenes, just make it work so no one notices. You've got the old sites and the new sites, and then we can transition from one side to the other seamlessly. And we said, okay, that's not really possible, but I'm sure it's possible. But so we decided, actually, yeah, I mean, we could do it. We can have a proxy in place. But VIP said, yeah, but that's not really how we work. I mean, meaning that we actually are very good at making sure that your site works how it should work. And we said, yeah, but we don't want it to work that way. We want to actually break your model, really. And they said, we're not going to do that, but we're going to help you to make it work. And they did, and we worked very well together to make a solution work, which enabled us to build 2 websites at the same time, side by side, be it managed side by side, and we could go live, each country at a time, at our own convenience, rather than having to do everything quickly and do a big bang approach. And that, I think, that solidified how incredibly agile and useful the VIP team is in terms of helping to meet our needs, even if it went against their technical setup, essentially. The other one was things like syndication. Now, ironically, TANUP actually created our syndication, or at least the bespoke version of syndication. I wish I knew that before I started this, otherwise I would have remove some of the slides, perhaps. But no, and again, and we worked with them, and they created a specific syndication model that was what we needed, what we actually asked for. Now, ironically, now 2 years on, we actually outgrown that model, and what we should have done is we should have thought 2 years ahead and thought, well, actually, the reality is that this is going to grow and grow. How should it work in 2 years, 3 years' time? But there's a challenge, and there's an ongoing challenge in terms of how do we cater for the ongoing needs of the marketing requirements. The other thing was, yeah, so the whole flexibility and the whole I guess, in a way, let's do it kind of attitude for VIP is actually superb, because that means that we can always bounce questions off them. We can actually get their opinion about how to do something. They offer very good opinions and actually solutions as well. The next thing was about scalability. So once we had the site, we went live, and actually it was extremely successful. And in fact, in some ways, it was too successful, because then everyone said, thank God for that. Now you have a good platform. We can now put all our websites on it. I got 100 of them. Let's do it. And we're like, whoa, wait a minute. And again, actually, Umesh, what you said was actually ringing quite well, in that good WordPress developers are actually quite hard to find. It's easy to find WordPress developers, but good ones not so much. And because it's a specialist skill, and it's absolutely correct that you need, and the best people we have are the ones who love it, and they know it inside out, and 2 passionate developers will outpace 10 mediocre ones instantly. So, and again, part of our governance, which I'll come to later, is actually to create a framework. So once the site was live, it was obvious that demand is outstripping our ability to manage it. And that's when we started, to think about the scalability, making sure that the syndication was working not just across our website, but across the other websites that now we have set up who also wanted to use our content. And again, we almost grew out of that as well, because that model is still restrictive to some degree. So now we need to find, okay, well, how can we just syndicate to whoever wants it, and how can we make it work, not just for our sites, but 100 sites? And that's where the things like the architectural consulting and the professional services also has a huge impact and positive impact on how we do things, because we have a partner in VIP to actually help us achieve that. And the last one is the Capgemini framework. So a bit like Umesh was discussing before, is that obviously to build one website is relatively easy. To replicate it is a bit more difficult, or replicate it in a way, because even though we are one company, we have loads of different brands. So what we needed was the ability to create new websites quickly, efficiently, with good solid code, But we can't take 2 years. We have to take a month or 2 months to do it. So that's where we decided. Well, we actually decided to create a framework 6 years ago, but we just got around to doing it, as usual with all these things. And essentially, the framework is very similar, meaning that we need to create code that is flexible enough so the marketers can use it. So they can have their own branding. They can import some of the additional multimedia elements, or all the WYSIWYGs, all the things that they like. We don't want to stop them using it. We just need to make sure that they can use it effectively without breaking everything else. And the framework was created to do that, so we can quickly and efficiently create new sites. And in less than a year, actually, we created a framework, and we actually we started using it on our other brands, the one's called Sogeti, and we just had, they have like 12 websites, country sites, the same issues that we have, Capgemini had, but with slightly fewer sites. And we were able to deliver that rather than from the 2-something years to less than 9 months or something like that. So, and the benefit of a framework is that it gives you that control, it gives you that safety net, but it enables you to more effectively generate and create websites that are business ready, business usable, and then create measurable positive effects. So that's it. And so our next step is to actually push that even further, because we have more and more sites that we want to develop and enable. So we need to push all those elements more and more to say, okay, maybe a whole architecture needs to be reviewed. Maybe we need to have a single source for all the content, and the satellite website collected. How do we do that? Does that require a complete reimagining of the architecture? Probably does. What else do we need? Well, we should be thinking about the next 3-5 year roadmap to see what we need and what technology is needed, what governance is needed. You see, I didn't really mention governance that much, but you can see I'm a more technical person. And we're looking for a challenge, looking forward to that challenge. But I know that especially with VIP, we can do that because they will be there to help advise us and actually help us technically and from all other elements. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.